Hello Storyteller owners, we are going to do an installation video for you. When you get a tray from us or a modular cabinet system, you're going to start with two flanges, a right hand and a left hand flange, the slide, and then the tray, and you need to put that together. So to make your lives easier, we're going to try to show you how we lay that out. We suggest that you take a piece of cardboard. We have these from other products that we ship. You might want to cut up the box that we send to you or find some cardboard that's in your recycle bin. Set that down, and that's just to protect this mounting flange right here from getting scratched up from this. It's aluminum, it doesn't rust, but just trying to help you keep your product looking nice as long as possible. So when I do this here at the shop, I try to have the first three holes sticking out, because when we do this, this red tab comes to the end of the tray. Same thing over here. Now, we got this all laid out. One thing I want to mention, it's easiest to do this on a picnic table or a workbench. You can do it on the garage floor, but if you have a picnic table or a workbench like this and a couple of clamps, you clamp this down and it helps keep these upright. It's just a little bit simpler and easier for you. I mentioned coming out three holes. That's because there's a slide in between these, and you have to look through a square hole, and we're going to show you that in just a second. The order of sequence here is the bolt, the head of the bolt is facing you, and you look for daylight through this. In that case, I see it right there. We push that through, and we're going to put a washer on there and a nut, and that's just thumb tight from the get-go. And then I just do these in pairs. You can do either side all in one. I think it's easier if you do them pairs for this reason. Now that we have that in there, it's easy to carry the weight of this thing back and forth. If you do one side, it's not easy to slide the whole mechanism back and forth. So this point, zip through here, and if you don't put cardboard down, you're going to need to lift up on the back of the tray a little bit to get those holes to line up, because we have to have space from the bottom of the tray to the mounting flange. Okay, so that's done at that point. Now, when this comes out, this is the only part that can be a little confusing sometimes. It's really very straightforward and easy, but if you haven't installed these, you won't necessarily know what to look for. There's this square opening right here, and when we pull this all the way open, that's not where this hole is in the factory slide. So you have to release the levers and go back in just a little bit. I typically will put my finger where that hole is there to line it up. Pull it back just far enough to see that. You can actually caught the mechanism there. There we go. So there, we're a little bit past. There we go. See through there. See the daylight through it. Put that bolt there. That washer. That nut. Do one over here. Again, we have to look for this hole right here. Go to the square opening, you see daylight, and there you go. So I'll insert these, I'll go around and I'll tighten everything up, and then that's it for this process. And then we'll jump into how we install this in the van. Okay, we don't own a Storyteller. We have Sprinter and a Revel in the shop, but no Storyteller at the moment, so imagine this as your Storyteller. Here's your L-Track. If you have a Mode or you have a Mode LT, essentially the same thing. The Mode LT spacing is just a little different, but none the wiser. What we're really looking for is the spacing from the edge of the wheel well boxes to our studs. And we send literature out with our products that indicate where those should be on the passenger side or the driver's side. So look for that information. That'll tell you where to put these L-Track studs. One thing I want to clarify, I've had this question asked a couple of times. What is the sequence of these bolts, the L-track stud and then the other parts. So we put the L-track stud in there. It doesn't go in the center of the circle, it goes between the two circles. Then you're gonna take this little rectangular looking part, it's got a square hole, drop that on there, and then a fender washer. That goes down. You're gonna put a fender washer on top of the flange when we get that. We've gone ahead of time and set those up, so we're good to go there. We're gonna walk and grab the tray, and we'll come back and set it on here. There we go. Okay, so you and your helper, you've got your tray in your van. A couple of things to make note of. When you set this in here, we have elongated slots in our flanges, and that's to help for little variances that we have from van to van, or Storyteller might have from van to van. One thing that you might want to do is look at, we would encourage you to do, is look at the flange in relationship to the wheel well box on the passenger side in this case, or on the driver's side. That way you don't have them really out of whack from each other. You could have quite an angle there, it might not look great. The other thing to mention, if you just have a singular tray in the van, this is less of an issue, but if you're gonna put a 20 by 60 in the mode, let's say, a 20 by 60, and then you're gonna put the 19 by 58 on the other side, or in the mode LT, you'd have 18 by 60 on one side and 18 by 60 on the other. It gets pretty tight because we've tried to maximize the distance, the space in these trays. So you want to register this tray towards the passenger side, or if you're working on the driver's side, you want to register it as close to the wall as possible. And then again, so like this case, I'm going to slide it over. You can see there's some slop that we've accounted for in there. You want to do that, and then again, check reference. Now you're going to be inside the van, so you'll slide it over, and then you'll step out and look and see, or you could put a tape measure from the flange to the wall. Once you've done that, and you're good with that, we want to kind of very slowly and gracefully pull the tray out just enough to expose these first set of L-track studs. And what we're doing there, particularly if you're parked on a hill, there's some tension in the slide. It won't just slide out on its own unless you're on a steep hill. And if that's the case, you want to make sure that these back two have a washer and a nut, just so this thing doesn't slide out of the back of the van and then tip up and out. So we've got these down, they're thumb tight. Now, we're gonna go through and we're gonna set up all of these. More than likely, what you're gonna find is these might get out of whack again by getting these pieces of hardware prepped. We're not gonna tighten down, but while you're getting prepped, this may get out of skew, so you might have to check that one more time. Couple of washers and the nuts there. Slide this all the way out. We'll drop that on there. I'm missing a nut. Let me go grab one. Okay, so all of our hardware is prepped for tightening, but again, this might have gotten out of skew. So we're gonna now take this. You do not wanna tighten it down in this position, because just for visual, you can see how much I can move those just by hand. So you don't wanna tighten this down in the out position. We wanna tighten down in a very particular order, very particular fashion, and that's to keep these two slides parallel to each other. Just like a kitchen drawer, it won't slide out or slide in if they're tapering in or tapering out. So in order to do that, we're gonna slide the tray back in. We're gonna check your flange to the wall of the van. That looks parallel and you're happy with it. It's slid over as much as you can get it and it's parallel. We're gonna go back to these studs in the back. We're only gonna tighten one side at a time. I'm gonna tighten this side. If you're tightening the driver's side first, that's just fine. I could start on that side, but you only wanna start by tightening one side first. So I've tightened that down. I'm gonna gently open this up to expose the next nut right there. Tighten that one down, and then we can slide this out. and tighten that one down. In a 20 by 60 tray, it comes back further. This is actually a 19 by 58 that goes on the driver's side in the mode. A 20 by 60, you can't get access to it because it's 2 inches longer, the nut. So what you have to do is close this up, and then you go through the hole right here and you tighten that one up. Now, if this side is set, now is the time to go back here and gently open this up, and we'll go through and we'll tighten up that side all together. Once that's done, you're ready to go. One thing to mention, we have seen this a few times. If for whatever reason, you tighten all of this down and something got bumped and they're off just a little bit, they're not on the same plane fore or aft, sometimes one will stay locked, and that's because they're not parallel to each other. They're not referencing this same plane or this plane. So you just need to check that. In this case, they're both, like, if I release this one, this side's keeping it locked, that's keeping it locked. If you release one and the other side isn't there, it'll come out on its own. So you just have to go through and recheck that. That's about it. Not too hard. If anything is unclear or you have questions or feedback, let us know. I'm here to help. You can call, you can text, you can send an email. Happy to get you going. Thank you guys very much for your business. I appreciate it, and we'll see you later.